How much time do you spend on your screens every day? Is it above or below average? Do you know the answer to that? You see, I thought I knew the answer for myself until I got sick. And for about 4 days, I wasn't really on my phone. And when I did finally get better, I got back into my day-to-day routine. I got a notification on my phone, and it says your screen time is down 65% from last week. And that hit me hard. 65%, and that's just from my phone. And it got me thinking about how much time was I actually spending across all of my screens, my TV, my laptop, my work computer. When I started paying attention, I found something interesting. I realized that screens, they weren't just a habit. They're actually rewiring how my vision works and how my brain seeks attention, why nobody can focus on anything anymore. And that's what this channel is all about. It's about harnessing the power of your senses to unlock your true potential. And if I know that I can't reach my potential because screens are locking that away, then I need to figure out a way to fix that. And that's what we're going to do in this video. See, we're going to look at it from 2 different angles. First, how screens are affecting your eyes, and 2, how screens are rewiring your attention, why it's so difficult to focus anymore. And then obviously we have to figure out a way to fix it. So I'm going to give you some exercises and some strategies that you can immediately implement to help improve your life and get that focus back. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is look at how screens are rewiring our eye. We know that our eyes weren't built for screens. They were built for movement. They were built for scanning, searching, for shifting between different depths, near and far. But now, what do? We have screens that lock our vision into a fixed distant points for hours on end. And what does that do? Well, it reduces your eye movement. I'm not looking up and down too much. It shrinks your peripheral vision and it strains your focal muscles. I mean, have you ever been on your phone for a long time and then you look up and it's kind of blurry in the distance, even though you got 20/20 vision? Well, that's because your ciliary muscles, which are the ones that shift focus between near and far, they get stuck in a near focus mode. It's kind of like holding a dumbbell. If I just hold this dumbbell in a bicep curl locked in right here, if I hold this all day, even though it's only 15 pounds, eventually it's gonna get tired and I'm gonna not be able to hold it up anymore. I might even pull a muscle. It's the same thing. If we're always having those muscles contracted because we're trying to see something close up, then eventually they're going to get tired and fatigued. That's why you're going to get headaches. Also, when you're locked in on a screen, studies have shown that your blink rate actually drops by 66%. That's going to cause dry eyes and it's going to fatigue your eyes more. And I remember my mom as a kid used to say, well, don't play your Game Boy. This is before phones, but don't play your Game Boy because it's going to ruin your eyes. Well, it turns out in 2013, there was a study that was done on excessive screen use. It turns out there is an increased risk of nearsightedness from excessive screen use. So my mom was right, I guess. The other thing screens do is they shrink your peripheral vision. And your peripheral vision is absolutely crucial for your awareness, for movement tracking, and depth perception. And if you're not familiar with this, this is just if you put your arms out, even though I'm staring at the camera right now, I can still see my hands kind of in the sides of my eyes. See, what happens with screens? Well, they train your brain to focus on only what's directly in front of you. And therefore, your eye movement shrinks because if I'm looking at my phone, I'm not moving left and right, I'm just going barely up and down left and right. It also makes the world become smaller and your awareness therefore drop. It's like one of those racehorses or carriage horses that wear blinders on their eyes. Except for us, it's not just blocking out your distractions, it's blocking out your own awareness, because even when you're off screens, your brain is still operating in this tunnel vision mode. And the bigger problem is that screens aren't just changing how you see, they're changing how you think. You see, screens hijack your attention and they hijack your focus. And I didn't realize how bad this had become for myself until I sat down to read an actual book, a paper book. And I remember having my phone sitting right here on the table next to me, and it was blank, but it just sat there. So I got about 1 or 2 pages in, and I remember looking over, and you know, when your phone's just sitting there, it's blank, but when you move it up, it automatically lights up. So I did that, no notifications, and I put it down and got back to reading. And I got another few pages in, and I remember reaching over, lit up, and then I just swiped up. Now it swipe up, and then I scrolled left and right for no reason. I just scrolled. There's no notifications. I just started scrolling, and then I put it down. And then it hit me. There was no notification. There was nothing that grabbed my attention other than the fact that the phone was there. And my brain mentally and instinctively just needed to pick it up to look at it. And I realized it's because your brain is addicted to novelty, new things. And this is a good thing because you want to really focus in and pay attention to new things, because then you can assess whether or not that's a threat or a danger, or whether or not next time you see this, it's okay and it's safe. So you want novelty. The problem is every time you check your phone, it releases dopamine. It's the same chemical that makes you feel good. And it's the same chemical that lights up your brain in brain scans to sugar addiction or gambling, slot machines, or drugs. So it's kind of like you have a slot machine sitting here in your pocket. You see, what happens is you first start checking your phone when you get a notification, ding, and you pick it up. But then you check your phone when you might get a notification, and then you just start picking up your phone for no reason at all. You see, your brain learns something interesting. It learns that maybe this time there'll be something interesting, something exciting. That uncertainty of not knowing if you have a notification or not keeps your brain craving and keeps your brain constantly checking. And I also found something else interesting. You ever had your phone in your pocket and it vibrates and you go look at it and there's actually no notification? Well, it turns out that's a real thing. It's called phantom vibration syndrome. And it's your brain so conditioned to expect notifications that you literally start hallucinating them. That's just proof on how deeply your brain has been rewired for screen use. And there's a really interesting study that was done by the University of Texas. And what they did is they broke up a bunch of participants into 3 different groups, and they had them take concentration tests. See, the first group all had to have their phone on silent, and they said, leave it on your desk. The second group, when they came in to take that concentration test, they said, hey, silence your phone and put it in your pocket. And the third group, they wouldn't let them bring the phone into the room to take that concentration test. And what they found was pretty interesting. You see, both groups that had their phone either on the table or in their pocket performed significantly worse than the people who had to leave their phone outside the room. This shows that just having your phone near you reduces brain power. What they found is your brain is subconsciously working to not focus on your phone, to ignore your phone. So even when you're not using it, part of your mental energy is focused on not touching your phone or not thinking about it. And that's energy and focus that you could be using on your actual task. And then there's people who say, it's okay, I'm great at multitasking. Well, no, you're not. Your brain can only focus on one thing at a time. What you're doing is task switching. And each time you switch task, you're leaving a little bit of mental residue behind, a little part of your brain that's still thinking about the last thing. And even tiny distractions like picking up your phone for just a second can disrupt your focus for minutes and even hours. Matter of fact, that's making this video very difficult to make, is because I keep picking up my phone, which is making it harder for me to stay focused on the content and topic that I want to do. So it's just evidence of how difficult just having my phone at arm's length and picking it up constantly is making this video. So more distractions equals less deep thinking, less work. See, it's messing me up. It's higher stress. So how do we fix this? How do we remove the phone, and how do we fix our eyes and get our attention back? So how do we do this? Well, the first thing we do is we need to fix our eyes, right? If we've been having these screens locking our eyes in at near focus and not having that peripheral vision and not being able to see depth correctly, then we need to fix those. So we can address each one of these aspects. So the first aspect is when your eyes are locked in on that close position, that near focus locks where the ciliary muscles get fatigued. So we can address that with 2 different exercises. The first is the 20-20-20 rule. The 20-20-20 rule is every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. And it helps relax those muscles that are so focused, because when you're looking away, it's kind of like doing a stretch every so often. The second thing you can do is called the thumb rule. Put your thumb out at about arm's length and stare at your thumb for about 5-10 seconds, and then stare at something off in the distance for 5-10 seconds and go back and forth. And what you're doing is, one, you're relaxing your eyes, but also you're letting your brain reconnect to how to actually use those muscles correctly. And that's going from close depth to far depth. And then there's divergence training. So when I look at something up close, look at me, my eyes come together almost cross-eyed, And then when it comes apart, that's divergence, where it looks something far away, your eyes kind of come apart. So what we need to do is train that divergence training. So all I'm going to do is look at something off in the distance. This is far distance. This is the horizon, a tall tree, a big building. And instead of squinting at it to try to see it more intently, I'm just going to relax my eyes and relax my face. All those muscles relax, and instead of just looking at it, I'm going to try to look through it. And I'm just going to give myself a few seconds to just let my eyes be in that divergence. And then we need to do some peripheral awareness training. So that's the area to the side. So all I'm going to do is put my hands up, and I'm going to find that outer limit of my peripheral vision. So it's about right here. And if you're having trouble seeing it, just wiggle your hands a little bit, because our brain seems to process movement a little bit better. So you can do your arms up a little bit like this, and then you can actually walk, because we always love movement. So you walk somewhere that's safe and just see if you can see things out the side of your vision. So I see that there's a bookshelf over there, I can see a painting over there, and as I'm walking, can I just observe things in my surroundings? And this exercise is great because it awakens your full field vision. It gets your world feeling bigger, clearer, and more dynamic. Now, we've worked on our eyes. The next thing we do is need to retrain our focus. But before we can start training and working harder, we need to work smarter. And so we need to build an environment that is focus friendly. So a focus friendly environment. How do we do that? Well, the first thing we're going to do is, if you have a pile of dishes off in the corner, every time you're trying to focus on something, remember the same thing with the University of Texas study, a little bit of your brain is going to be thinking about, I should go clean those dishes. There's probably bugs in there or something. So a little bit of your focus is always going to be focused on that. So just clean up a little bit, tidy up your area, make it nice and clean, nothing around you, so that you're not thinking about all the tasks that you need to do. Instead, you can just focus on work. The second thing you're going to do is turn off all notifications. So go to focus mode on your phone, or you can actually go in and select individual notifications, because 80% of all distractions come from alerts, not actions. The second thing we're going to do is delete social media from your phone. Now, you don't have to delete your entire account, but I'll tell you why this is super important. If you delete the app from your phone, you can always re-download it. But if I'm working and suddenly, because it's a habit, I just pick up my phone and I see that the app's not there, well, I can always re-download it. But it takes about 10 seconds or so to re-download that app, maybe a little bit more. And the amount of time that it's going to take to re-download that, it might be just enough time for my brain to go, you probably shouldn't be doing that. Just get back to work. And it might cause you to put it down and get back to work. The third thing we're going to do is we're going to make our phone boring, dull. And the way to do that is get rid of the colors, because our brains craves attention, and colors equal dopamine. So if we can get rid of the colors, we get rid of that dopamine, and we can then see the world. So the way to do that is go into your phone. We're going to change the color to grayscale. So if you have an iPhone, you're going to go to Settings, Accessibility, Display and Text Size, Color Filters, and turn on grayscale. And if you have an Android, you're going to go to Settings, Accessibility, Color and Motion, Color Correction, and turn on grayscale. And that's going to make your phone dull, which means all the colors you see in the real world are going to be exciting. Now, we've made our focus-friendly environment. Now, it's time to actually focus. Now, the way we're going to train this from the very start here is really simple. It's a little program. It's going to be 3 days, and you're just going to do one thing each one of those days. It's not very hard. It's very simple. All you're going to do is try to reprogram your attention. So on the first day, you're going to wake up, whenever you wake up, and have no screens for the first 30 minutes. You see, your brain is most impressionable in the morning, and if the first thing you do is scroll, you hop on your phone, you're essentially setting the tone for distraction all day. Additionally, if you posted a video the night before and you're hoping that someone got on there and liked or comment and nobody did, you get on there and you don't see those notifications because everybody was asleep just like you were asleep, so of course they didn't like your comments and videos, then you're going to get sad. You're going to get depressed or anxiety. Maybe I shouldn't have posted that. Maybe they think I look awkward. And then you basically set your day up from the very start having these negative emotions, and that's no way to start the day. The second thing we're going to do on day 2, we're going to sort of do a little bit of time blocking, and we're going to do 25-minute work blocks. So the way you're going to do this is pick one task, and for 25 minutes straight, no switching, only do that task. So if I need to check emails for 25 minutes, I'm only going to check emails. I'm not going to work on anything else except for emails. Then I'm going to take a break, and then I can either go back to the same task or I can do a different task. And I'm going to try to do that almost all day. The third day, we're going to do a digital detox hour. And this is because nobody can just sit alone with their thoughts anymore. We're always absorbing information, and there's a limit to how much information we can absorb. So we want to take a break. So you're going to go 1 hour with no screens. You can go for a walk, you can journal, you can meditate, you can just sit there in silence. But if you watch the video about sound, we learned how important it is to sit in silence. Silence actually rebuilds your brain. And the same thing with screens. If you're not having any external stimuli, then you can actually focus on your internal system and rebuild your body. And the final tip here is, if your phone is at arm's length, if I can reach it, I'm probably gonna pick it up. So if my phone is on a desk over there, I would have to get up and walk over there to actually get on my phone. So if your phone's just not near you, you're probably not going to pick it up. So just never have your phone near you if you actually need to focus on something. Now, we've got exercises to fix our brain. We've built a focus-friendly environment. And then we've learned ways to help retrain our attention, but now we need to make it a habit. Now we need to do it just where it flows naturally. And so the way to do that is to stack these different training exercises with existing habits, things you already do. So for instance, if you go to a coffee shop and you're standing in line in coffee about to order, why don't you work on some near focus drills like the 20-20-20 drill or the thumb drill, or if you don't want to look like someone who's just holding your thumb out randomly, why don't you stare at the barista and then stare at the barista behind them and then go back and forth, right? Work on your depth perception. Or you got to walk to your car from your office building. Well, this is a great time to work on your peripheral training. You already need to be aware of your surroundings so you don't get hit by a car. So what better time to focus on your surroundings? And then if you're about to start work, I always love to do just 30 seconds of a reset. So I just close my eyes for 30 seconds and I try not to think about anything. And I just close my eyes and let myself relax. So my eyes, not only am I relaxing my eyes, but I'm also relaxing my mind, letting myself reset so I can actually get back into focus. You see, focus is a skill and it's not lost, it's just buried under all these distractions. So I want you to start small, but start today. Choose one technique to just try today. And then feel free to go into the comments and write which one you did, or what is one screen habit that you want to change. Because writing to a bunch of random strangers that you're going to make this change in your life, even though we might not care, you putting yourself out there might be just enough motivation to actually get you to do it. And make sure to subscribe, because in the next video, we're going to talk about our sense of touch and why, even though we live in a world where the internet makes us more connected than ever, we feel more disconnected than ever. See you on the next one.